Welcome to this portion of the Greater Albany Public Schools Superintendent Search. My name is Steve Lauder. I am the search consultant, and today we will be introducing one of the finalists for the next district superintendent. The school board wants to hear your thoughts about the finalists, and after viewing the video, please go to the district website to answer questions about the candidates by completing the SurveyMonkey questionnaire. The school board will review your comments prior to making their final decision. Thank you in advance for your participation in this important process. And let me welcome Andy Gardner. Yep. Here we go. Welcome, Andy. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Steve.
Great. Hey, thank you for participating in this, and congratulations on being a finalist for the superintendent of the Greater Albany School District, Public Schools. So the first question is, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your professional background.
All right, so grew up in Eastern Oregon, was influenced early on in my life by my interactions and relationships with coaches and teachers, and really admired those people. They deeply influenced me. Grew up without TV over there. We lived a ways out of town and developed a reading habit that carries through to this day. Always enjoyed reading history, world and American history. And I think it gives me a great perspective on things. I went to college to be a history teacher, and before long I began to really reflect that I had most enjoyed my time in schools with the teachers, educators, engaging in sports activities, but also the subjects themselves. I ended up with a language arts as well as a social science endorsement and began to teach. I taught for 7 years in Staten, then became a high school administrator, athletic director, had 2 young children in this community, raised them. Athletic director and having really young kids was not a great fit, so I moved into an elementary principalship. It was actually a K-8 school. Absolutely loved it, went there without a clue, and was just really blessed to find great teachers there who were willing to share knowledge with me, and we just engaged with each other all the time. Learned a lot about special education at the elementary level, learned a lot about reading, math, what that looks like to build fluency, and just really invested myself in that. That was about a 5-year run there. That was at Sublimity Elementary, moved on to a middle school, very different experience. Really working to create systemic change in a more challenging situation in the middle school in Staten, and worked there for 3 years before becoming the superintendent. I've worked 12 years as the superintendent at Staten. During that time, I have engaged in projects inside the district, which I think have made a difference. We have passed a construction bond, built that out. We have engaged in the class project through what was formerly the chalkboard project, and changed our working culture here. Finally, I've also been engaged outside of the district. I've been involved in the OSAA, sat for 6 years on that executive board, including 1 year as president. Worked as well with the Willamette Promise, which is the college credit bearing network partner through Western Oregon. I've been on that advisory board since its founding. Also work on the Marion Polk Early Learning Hub board because I am also interested as well in preschool issues. And so I currently have a seat on a committee there, currently have a seat on the Willamette Promise advisory board, and really enjoy work with an outward face. I also serve on the executive committee of the Oregon Superintendent's Council through COSA, the Oregon School Administrators.
Terrific. Thank you. Please tell us why you want to be the next GAP superintendent.
I think one of the really interesting things, I have generally thrown myself into work with a whole heart and enjoy every day that I have been able to work in education. And I just don't see that the problems that you face every day to be anything near the value and the worth of overcoming them. So I've always been a very purposeful person, see a lot of importance in the work that I do. I see the natural inclination, once you have built something, you then 3 years later, it is interesting to me how that becomes a norm and people begin to expect. And so there's always, as you grow, you need to find new things to build further. And that has been a lot of what we have done here in the North Santiam School District. We're proud of our budgeting process and where that has brought us. We're proud of our learning systems and where that has brought us. But for the first time in my life, I now am going to have none of my own children in a system that I'm a part of. And that is forcing me to think differently about what I'm going to do for the rest of my career, what that is going to look like. And Albany is open. Albany is a place where I lived for a time. When I was a high school teacher at State and High School, I was commuting back and forth, and it has always drawn me. I think it is a community that has many similar roots to smaller towns. It's got a small town feel to it. I think it has challenges now as it grows. We face some of those same challenges here in Staten, and it draws me to renew and to look for new challenges. The people that I know in Albany, we have many in our district that live there, are great people. The people that I have met in Albany, the people that I have worked with from Albany as I've done state committees, OSAA board, are great people. And so I know that there is a great district. The bones are good in this district, and I'd just be really excited to be a part of building off of those and looking really towards the future.
Thank you. Please tell us what you've done in your educational career that you find the most gratifying.
So, interestingly, it is one thing to have an accomplishment as a coach where most people know, hey, there's a team and it's very visible. I think a lot of times superintendents, their accomplishments over a longer period of time and are sometimes hard to discern on an everyday basis. So the things that make me the most proud about the work we've done here, we had failed to pass a bond for four times a row in the 2000s. Between 2002 and 2008, the North Santiam School District had failed 4 bonds in a row. In 2010, in the middle of the Great Recession, we began to do the work. We went out and I personally went and asked every large business owner in the district. Every service group was represented. Every school community was represented on a large committee. We put together a plan that they were able to give. They had complete authority to build that bond plan. We then went out and campaigned, and in 2012, we were able to pass the first bond in 20 years. And so I felt really good about the community's willingness to support that. But getting the right people to plan it and then getting our board to agree to accept that as the recommendation were things that I thought were really key to that. Over time, we have also built learning systems that I'm really proud of here. We have expanded our career tech, and I know that's a big thing in Albany. Students are now on their 3rd house that they are building just down the street from the high school. We have a 4-year healthcare pathway in our high school. The Willamette Promise has a lot of college prep classes, and we're just excited to build out a lot of in-high school opportunities for kids. Finally, just the work of changing our culture. We had almost gone to strike with our teachers in 2012. My time as a principal had been marked by a lot of mistrust between the district and staff. And after going through the class grant, we now have wonderful collaborative relationships. We meet regularly, and we have a lot of ability to solve problems together through trust. And so that's not something that the community would necessarily see all the time, but it greatly enhances how we operate on a day-to-day basis and how we handle challenges like what we've gone through here for the last couple of years.
Great, thank you. Finally, do you have anything that you'd like to share with the staff and community and students that might improve your candidacy?
Well, and I know that Albany's a bigger district, and so there's going to have to be some translation to this. But I recognize more and more in my career that there's not much that I can do technically that I have to think up myself. I can go and learn about what other districts do well. But my main job is to listen to people on a consistent basis and get their perception and their understanding of what is important, and that the schools of Albany will manifest in how we work. And so listening and being present is very important to me. The work that I do in this district is very personal and takes me to schools every week. We go to school and watch instruction with principals 2 times a week. And I know there are more schools in Albany, so there's going to have to be more of a random sampling sort of adaptation to that. But that is going to be what you're going to see. I'm going to try to be present in the schools and really listen to people. Those kind of things, I think, allow me to stay in regular context with people. The other thing, I think Albany is like virtually every district right now. We are coming out of a pandemic that is almost certainly going to change us in ways that are permanent, and we may not see them yet. We are going to have to spend a lot of time thinking here in the next couple of years about what this district and community will look like going forward. And it is impossible that our schools will not engage in a deep community listening process with all other entities as we come together and figure out what that direction is going to be. We have engaged in this district for about 15 years. I inherited this, but we have modified it and I believe improved it. We do a goal setting process every year where our goals from our buildings and our directors at the different levels are brought forward to our school board. And we have a great partnership where our administrators and our board spend a little bit of time every August and come together and figure out where we're going. And there is a lot of work to do in June to plan that. And so listening and then constructing a direction that is expressed then in positive goals that are specific, measurable. I think that's going to be really important that we do. And that would be something I would bring to this district.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate your time today and best of luck. And for our viewing audience, I'd like to remind them that the board wishes they would go to the district website and click on the Survey Monkey and answer the questions about your strengths and weaknesses today that they perceived from this. I just want to remind them that that survey will close on Wednesday, this Wednesday at 5 p.m. And the board will review them before making their final decision. Once again, thank you, Andy, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.